back to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time, the Tholian Web. The Tholians. They're putting out a web. You saw the episode, you know. Speaking of things that are geeky like that, like the Tholian Web, it's the good, the bad, and the geeky, or GBG, as the hip cats call it. It's a pop culture podcast. You should go check out the good, the bad, and the geeky. Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes it's TV review discussions with a variety of guests with the host, Nick Argenbright. You know what? Sometimes he just gives a drive-by. He literally drives by. He's driving, but he's safe. He's using a headset. He's using handless, and gives and doles out the geekiness about TVs and movies, etc., etc. Also, you'll probably hear a lot of some of your favorites from the IABD Presents network, IABDpresents.com, including occasionally some of the folks right here that you hear on It's All Been Trucked Before. So check out Nick, and he's also been on this show. You've heard him on here. Also, if you want to dig a little deeper, Dirty Story Night. I don't know if digging deeper is right, but when I say it with Dirty Story Night, it sounds dirty, and that's what Dirty Story Night is. It's filthy. Go back through the archives. There are all kinds of different themes, all kinds of different winners. Not safe for work. If you are listening to it at work, please make sure you have your earbuds in. Also, speaking of digging deep, dig deep in your pocket, your checkbook. Checkbook? Are people still writing checks? I'm a dinosaur. But either way, dig deep and support us at patreon.com/IABD. Great way to support us. Keep all this programming going. We're just adding more, and I can't announce anything right now, but there's just more to come, so keep supporting us. And in the meantime, support us like the folks on the Enterprise trying to support Captain Kirk here in the Tholian Web on It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. Your normal hosts are here.
This is Steven.
And the normal Keith.
And Jimmy-Jerome, and we are joined by return guest Marianne.
Hello.
And brand new guest, Kate Jones.
Howdy.
Kate, since you're new, tell us what your Star Trek experience is.
Oh gosh. I guess I was raised as a Trekker. I started with Next Gen and faithfully followed Voyager, Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, whole nine yards. So,
How much original have you seen?
I have not actually seen a ton of original. This was my first viewing of the Tholian Web. So,
Nice.
Wow.
But you seem to know a lot of the tropes and the makeup of the characters, despite not being...
Make out of the character.
make out of it. Yes.
We'll get to that.
Spock is a fave. So,
Since Jimmy hadn't seen the Tholian Web, you guys
I
were
had
exactly as experienced then.
Yeah, there are very few episodes I haven't seen. Although DS9 is the only series I've seen every episode of. But yeah, there were a few in season 3 I hadn't seen of the original. So we're correcting that.
I had seen this one before. I think I've seen all of them, but...
So first impressions of the Tholian Web, what do we think?
It was very Tholian. Like,
much web.
As in Tholian irony, you know, like popular.
It's a weird episode. I think from whatever perspective you come from, it's weird. But it's not dull, I don't think, by any means. So
Is it the least Shatner in the entire series?
I think so, which for me...
Didn't miss him.
For me,
at all.
Kirk's my captain, so it's still a weird episode for me.
yeah.
But he gets those moments at the end or whatever, so I don't think it makes it... It didn't take away from the episode, but it's a bummer for me, because Kirk's my captain, but it's not a huge bummer.
I would say there's less Kirk in the season 2 finale, right, though?
What was the season 2 finale?
The pilot of that other show.
Oh, Assignment Earth?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There
might be
wasn't-
close.
But there wasn't Spock and McCoy in that much either.
Yeah.
That was all Gary Seven and Roberta Lincoln.
Yeah.
So this is, we get the crew, but without Kirk.
And then him floating in space.
A lot of floating.
Like Major
space
Tom,
ones.
if you will. Different variation, but...
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously interesting. Enterprise, the spinoff, has established that this is the second Mirror Universe episode.
Yeah.
Did we see those elements in there? Because other than the fact that they phased into the other...
That's about it. That's all they reference it.
And we know that they don't establish it in this episode, but in Enterprise and in Discovery, they talk about Defiant being lost into the Mirror Universe.
Yes, yeah. And Discovery is actually the one where, to jump to something else we talked about off mic, they mentioned there was a mutiny around this time, or before this time, so Spock was wrong, or whoever says there was never a mutiny, but as somebody here said, you know, the winners write history, so
That was me.
maybe later, as Keith said, maybe later it was...
Yeah, I mean, Starfleet's
stricken from
been
the
around for
records.
like a while at this point, so I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially those early days when regulations were looser.
But I imagine the Federation would probably cover that up, too, for morale and other things.
Yeah.
Section 31, buried it deep.
What's that from?
Section 31,
Yeah.
that's the secret branch of Starfleet that is like their spy agency. It's like their KGB or whatever.
I don't think I've gotten to that.
I don't think they talk about them until Deep Space Nine, but they establish, like, with Enterprise and stuff, that they've always been around.
The second trivia for this is Chekhov asks if there's ever been a mutiny. Spock responds saying there's absolutely no record of it. Cleverly avoids answering the question directly because there may be no mutiny on record. However, Spock well knows of at least two. One was in the Menagerie,
Of course.
two-parter.
Oh, yeah,
and the
when
other
he committed
one,
mutiny.
Yeah.
and the other one is mentioned years after in the third season of Whom Gods Destroy.
We haven't got to that one yet.
Yeah.
So it's mentioned, so it must have happened before that. But if he mentions it,
Is it a mutiny if everyone just kills each other? Is it a mutiny everyone goes after the captain?
Mutiny is they overthrow
Right.
current
Yeah.
government,
Mutiny on the
which
bounty,
is generally
yeah.
captain, sometimes first mate as well.
They just killed each other, and as
Look,
we've experienced many times, this is yet another instance of space madness.
So we've been seeing that since the early days.
A
of the
lot.
original, The Naked Time.
But this time you could tell because you had the fish islands. That's how you knew.
Yes,
That's how you knew.
And the pain I might
Yeah.
have indigestion.
I even
It
marked
was a
that.
Pepto-Bismol commercial
It was.
or Digicel or whatever the hell
Yeah.
that was.
The actor flinch.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The heavy breathing of Chekhov. It's
Yeah.
Well,
like,
and Chekhov getting to scream again in an episode.
So this was directed by Herb Wallerstein. So he's the one doing the funny fisheye stuff. That we
Herb
were so
Wallerstein
nervous
is
of.
credited as the director. Ralph
Sinensky,
Sinensky,
yeah.
Sinensky was the original director,
I
but
think
was
he came up
fired
with the-
midway through the filming
That's
and
it.
replaced with Wallerstein.
Yeah.
no.
He refused any screen credit for this episode. Why was he fired? Do you know?
That I don't know.
I don't know either.
Mutiny.
Wallerstein will go on to direct 3 more episodes,
Oh, okay.
including Whom Gods Destroy.
Okay.
This was his first, but he did 4 episodes of Star Trek. This is the thing he's second best known for. So clearly not a huge career. I mean, he's got quite a few credits, but not super well known director.
Weird hair comment. It says James Doohan said they told him to comb his hair back, the NBC executives, and he hated doing it.
Yeah.
So he stopped doing it during the Tholian Web.
Yeah.
Yes, so
I
they
think-
air him out of order.
Yeah,
We've
so a couple
talked about
episodes
this.
he
his hair
had
was
the
up for
feathery
episodes.
pompadour kind of thing, and he
Nice.
did not like it.
And then once it went away from him, Uhura suddenly sprouted it.
Mm-hmm.
Hers is swept back now.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Uhura, there was no sexism in this episode at all.
Finally, we get to.
Finally, an episode with no sexism.
Oh my
Do you have
The
the bell?
universe is sexism free.
Wow.
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah, the
ding,
bell
ding,
ringing
ding,
for
ding,
you.
ding.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me why I'm wrong. Because I know I'm wrong. I'm not really pretending I'm right.
So there was the wilting flower scene, which was really
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
annoying. Like,
Although McCoy did it
McCoy
too
did the
later.
same thing, though.
I mean,
To be fair, that's how we
true.
knew they had
and then
space
But then he
madness.
snapped out of it immediately, where Uhura was
Tied down to the bed.
Yeah.
tied down in
yeah.
the bed for a while.
So did she or did she not have space madness?
She did not.
She did
That's
not.
what I think.
yeah.
Was she just distraught by the image of Kirk? Is that what they're going with?
I
Or
don't know.
was
She
Yeah.
did
She
do
lo-
she did do the actor flinch.
Oh, she
right
did have
before
the- and she
saw
had the-
him.
the music
Yeah, she
stinger,
had
you're
the-
right.
Yeah.
But she saw him and perked right up.
Yeah.
But she's in love with him, so
She is not.
I
Half the
feel
gang
that
grew.
don't. Yeah, well, they kiss soon, so
Yeah, under mind control, not naturally.
Doing what comes next.
I'm not sure Kirk's under my control. That
Does Kirk have to be ever?
let's make this clear. If anyone ever had to be under mind control to kiss Nichelle Nichols,
They're in trouble.
their mind needed to be controlled
Yeah.
anyway.
True.
So
Everyone knows.
you probably wrote down the stuff about the feminist stuff, like
I mean, how,
the
like,
penis.
James Daly
penis fun.
brought me some truth in my life. Like, well, no, don't worry. I'm
Well, I had
to
to mansplain it to her.
You
She
did.
didn't get
no,
it.
it's
Thank
okay,
God you were
yeah.
here. Thank God.
What I'd like to hear about is the origin of that term. I don't think I've heard that before.
Yes.
Mansplain
So
that.
No, no.
Let me mansplain, Tiki.
no, you pointed out that obviously, like, once a guy said it, it's like, oh, they're probably going to believe him, and I did appreciate that they did not. They were both like, well, Scotty's lost. And,
We're all dead now.
But no,
But they didn't tie him to the bed.
Not that we saw.
They couldn't get to him fast
He
enough.
was
They
up
were
on the
like,
bridge. She was wily.
He was wily. No, a term I've used for is the penis phone. So generally, if someone won't listen to a woman, you have to call them on the penis phone, which is get a guy to say it, and suddenly it fixes everything. So yes, that
I actually just
believe
read a
that
full-length
goes to-
script for Mad Lab where it was set in the 40s, but it could have been set in the same time, and it was the same thing. Like, there was a woman who was running a airplane hangar, and whenever somebody called, she handed it to a guy, so they would listen to him.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
see, I didn't know what Kate was talking about till Luce explained.
And then, yeah,
oh man.
Case in point. I was like,
Kidding.
all credit of the term goes to Michael Hickman. That's who I got it from. So.
It's-
A guy, of course.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's a
no,
girl.
yeah.
Oh, Michael
yeah.
Girl. Okay.
To bring it all
Like
full
Michael
circle.
Burnham from Discovery.
So that clears it all up.
oh yeah.
Not a celebrity. Well, a local celebrity.
Okay, that's right. So
Celebrity, yes,
a local
she does
celebrity.
amazing
Yes.
movie work. And flowers.
And Phillips the...
I
Just-
had never
just
heard of
director of
another
actors
woman
team.
named Michael
Okay.
other than
Yes.
Star Trek, but
Yes.
that shows you Star Trek got it from somewhere.
Indeed. Indeed, yes.
So one never split the party. I mean, if you've ever played D&D, you never split the party. And
But they couldn't be
I'm
all back
learning
at
that.
once.
no, I meant like
When he tells him to search.
he's like,
Oh, I
hey,
see what you're saying.
Chekhov, you go down here. Bones, you go here. Spock and I will stay together.
Yeah.
Wink. And
Yeah, don't leave us
Clyde.
alone for a little
Yeah.
I'm more bumped on the fact that they were like, we beamed over. Now we see there's danger. Get security team ready. Oh, never mind. We don't need security team. Like, security team should be first.
Yeah.
And then the captain and his buddies.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, security team would call back, hey, maybe you shouldn't come over. But,
And
the
then,
red
like,
shirts all
the-
go over,
the-
float off into space.
yes.
The transporter is suddenly broken. Like,
That was weird. It just
There was
Well,
the
they said
inner
it was the inner space was
spacing.
messing
I
with the
guess,
mechanics.
yeah. But it's like,
But yeah, that did seem convenient.
There were a lot of convenient things. Like,
There were.
we can only
Lazy
beam three of
writing.
you back.
just say
like-
lazy writing.
There's only
Yeah.
3 pads working. It's like, wait a minute, when 6 people are on a planet, you don't need any damn pads. Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
I'd say just, I mean, even before the lazy writing kicked in, it was just more of like they should have hinted at something being wrong when they beamed over, or
Yeah.
something, an intermediate step before they jumped
yes.
to
The other thing
Delete scene.
that annoyed me with the with the transporter is it has a set pattern that they always follow, and Scotty's was like just like flipping the switch, like it's not like a light switch, you know, and because he kept doing like boop,
Well, I think the little, the whatever, the
yeah.
pushing the volume up to full or whatever, that's, or down, or turning it all the way
You know,
down.
exactly.
Is
He
the
kept doing it.
standard.
It's like wait,
That's the
Is it supposed to
standard,
go
but
up?
yeah.
or
It's-
down.
Scotty's
You're
not a
energizing.
transporter guy, he's an engineering guy.
I know.
But he
supposed to know.
did go down when there was an issue. He was the expert.
Well, yeah, it's
Let
not,
me fix this.
I bet
And I saw him, well, I mean, I was thinking when they're trying to beam Kirk back at the end, where's Scotty? Because he was in the transport room and I figured he'd want to supervise, but he was down the engine room making sure they had
Yeah.
power. But then where was Kyle? Why do we have some newbie
Right,
abandoning
right.
the
Yeah.
path?
But I think when he's pushing the
Yeah.
Yeah.
full up down, that's the standard. And then when he was flipping the other thing, it's like when your car won't start, but you still keep turning. It's like I'm gonna keep trying this. And,
I was
yeah.
like when the lights go out and you turn the light on and then you turn it back on and off. Like the power's out for the whole house. I figured that out, but I still tried to switch at least twice.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Sure.
That's why Scotty's the guy in charge because he
Yeah.
he knows those
He
tricks.
Sometimes he
knows
just
to do
hits
it.
the panel and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Hey.
Exactly.
The colorful suit. I mean,
Oh.
that was
Fashion?
That
I've
was,
seen less glitter on a drag queen. Like, what
I mean,
was
even
that?
that thing that came up.
That was always weird.
Oh,
the-
right.
I think the idea of that is that's what the helmet attached to.
Oh, okay.
But it was black and and glitter.
Yeah.
It was like
Well,
black
you know,
glitter.
I never remembered all those colorful wires on the front.
Yeah,
I
that was-
never remember.
I had a
remember
9-inch Captain Kirk in space
Oh,
suit
okay.
action figure with the wires
Oh,
and
wow.
stuff. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
speaking of which, for the home audience, we were talking about the spacesuits they were wearing at the beginning.
Yes.
to get
Yes.
over the
Yes.
place. Which
Yeah, Luce slipped in our little fashion.
I
We always do a fashion segment.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Yeah.
that
There's
this,
a lot.
it was unusual for them to even bother putting on suits to go over to some place where they should be doing pretty much every time they do anything.
Well,
They
they gotta
got-
have the budget until now.
They got it half right. They didn't send the right landing
People.
party, but they did
did
send.
give
They did finally put on some spacesuits from contamination.
I did like what Uhura's cash wear, I guess. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, girl, yes.
The kimono and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With their
I.
sleeping
Their
necklace.
sleep necklace.
Yes,
Well, as soon as she put the necklace on, she had the what you
Yeah.
call it.
the heart thing, yeah.
Yeah,
She
the-
was just like, ugh.
I did read she loved any episode where she got to be out of uniform. which I would say so does all the audience at home,
Yeah.
but she means it differently than I think.
Well, I said they covered her up more in that.
Well,
than they normally go
yeah.
for.
my first fashion of the episode was that her skirt's gotten longer finally.
Oh, finally.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, because I remember it used to always show her and Nurse Chapel, their skirts always showed their panties whenever
Yup.
they did
Yeah,
it.
finally this season, I guess they were like, no.
We got a little extra money.
Yeah.
We'll get you a little
That's
extra.
yeah,
Oh my
because
God.
I was like, oh, she's not wearing a romper, or even less than a
Yeah.
romper, because
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
see everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
She was wearing
and
something that could be a tunic.
the first season and a half, it just got higher and higher and higher. So maybe Terry Garr's anger at Roddenberry, the new producers, they were able to get that changed. So
The other fashion thing I noticed was Bones's blue
Oh.
The
satin.
shiny short sleeve.
Man, I love that.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah, we
always a
talked about
favorite.
that a lot.
Yeah,
It matches his eyes, and
Yeah.
I love that so much. He's got the pretty. I marked that down too. Bones has the prettiest blue eyes.
So he's got the shiny short sleeve. Kirk has the green wraparound, but Spock does not have a custom shirt.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's Spock.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
but-
don't need to improve on perfection.
Speaking of, oh, go ahead, Keith.
I had a couple things. First of all, I was going to say that the spacesuits reminded me sort of like the upcoming movies. Was it part 1 or 2? I can't remember. Of the Star Trek movies. I feel like they're wearing spacesuits in those. It looks
They
sort
are.
of like that. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
when Chekhov goes down to
yeah.
to meet Khan,
Oh yeah, in Wrath of Khan.
they've got
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
I mean, they're not. These ones are like way above their head.
Yeah.
Like,
The domes.
they
And-
fit them a little better.
they've got all the sight blocking material on the sides, which makes them completely terrible for
Yeah.
anything.
It looked like it was like mosquito netting, and
Yes,
not actual like.
yeah. That's what I
clear
always
fabric.
thought. That's
I'm
what I
like-
always thought.
Why can't I kept
The dome?
Yeah, why couldn't I see through it clear enough?
Yeah.
Why, I should see some shininess or something, but it looked like
Space.
meshy material instead of cheesecloth or something.
The other thing that I thought was unusual about the suits is they actually had their own name tags on them.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I like
But
that.
not where you'd expect it to be, right up under the chin.
Yeah.
Well, so I wondered, are those all kept in one area where everyone's are, or is it everyone's in their own quarters?
Or you just put them on and they put the name tag
And
on.
that's what I was thinking.
That's possible
It's like-
too.
Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe the replicator
Yeah.
makes them like that.
In case
Or
your
Right.
face
Oh, that's true.
explodes, we'll be able to identify your body.
that too. Yeah.
Or so you never forget who you're talking to.
And
Well,
it's
drunk
like
as
it's so
Kirk. Our
So
sky.
that you can't see
Yeah.
through it very well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that too.
that's
Okay, maybe
I
glare.
don't know. No, I don't think there's a good reason to have your name up there. I mean, maybe on your back or something it would be useful.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Kate.
so you don't have to look down too far. It's like,
Like, right, yes, that's your name.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what your name is unless you're in a hostile area where you or a possibly toxic, poisonous,
True.
contaminated area. Then you have to know people's names.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the Nurse Chapel and her look out,
Oh,
and then like,
stood there.
That may have been payback for at least a series of episodes where all McCoy does is he's just an a-hole to her. And, yeah, so she might just be like,
she's like,
oh, it might have been a sarcastic, look out, oh no.
She's like, oh, okay.
all right,
stop.
now I got the turn.
And I feel like, and I might just be, I feel like every time they have a male orderly, or I didn't know that it was an orderly, I just thought he was an assistant or a male
Yeah.
nurse, whatever.
Sure.
They couldn't call him a male nurse then, apparently, because they
Male
always,
nurse.
they always end up to be no good.
Yeah.
For some reason
They
in the
always
future.
go
yeah.
insane
Yeah,
or
or something.
something
They're
happens.
evil in some way.
It's the medical version of a red shirt.
Yeah. I like that, and he went from 0 to 150 space madness. 'cause
Yes.
He was just like,
Yeah.
I'm getting weird. I'm getting I'm gonna hit you with this, whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, he
I-
went
It
from
looked like he
0
had
to
like a needle
nothing.
thing, like
Yeah,
because it looked very similar to
I
what.
thought it was like a baton, like in a 4x400 race.
it did look like a blunt instrument of some sort.
Yeah.
I just appreciate there weren't the obvious stunt doubles the
Yes.
way there usually
Yes.
is, where they don't look anything like the actors.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look.
Yeah.
the stunt doubles. Speaking of that, we theorized that. I swear that was Spock laying down with his
Oh,
face
yeah.
away from it. It
I
looked-
think that one scene, it's literally the entire crew.
Oh.
You just don't see their faces. But I'm like, if that's not
I think more.
William Shatner contorting over a table.
I think more likely it's their stand-ins.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Because
That
they
does
Or,
make sense.
I mean, I believe they make Sulu and Chekhov lay down on the floor. I don't think Shatner and Nimoy would have been conscripted to that.
There is the episode where where Shatner plays Kirk's brother.
Yes, they had
They
the
put a
mustache.
mustache on him.
And then he's
Oh,
dead body on the floor,
no.
yeah.
So
You don't get a good look, but it's Shatner and a mustache.
So the scene we're referring to, of course, is when they go over to the ghost ship and see people just lying around
Yes.
the bodies
Yes.
and so forth.
Wackily laying
bodies-
around. It was like there was one body on the floor, and then the neck. I think it was in engineering because Chekhov was checking it out, and there was like the engine part, and there was a body like on top of that, and just like contorted all over it, and then there was another one on the other side of that. I'm like,
It was.
Did they pick them up?
They were bleeding out of their eyes, some of them.
Some of
But
them,
then, the way you're describing it, it's like in Airplane, the movie, when they say assume crash positions and everyone just gets in what they think is a crash position.
Yeah.
It's like that's what they did.
yeah.
I did like when the ship was hit by the Tholians and the bridge crew rocked. We then saw the engineers rock, and we saw McCoy and Chapel
Yeah.
rock.
Okay,
and
I wrote that down.
McCoy was just like slightly irritated. He was
Yeah.
barely pushed.
I said that's a half-hearted
Yes.
from Bones. It was just like
Well, sick base in the middle of the ship. It doesn't rock as much.
That's probably it. They've got all those test tubes and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Therigen laying around.
tie-dye stuff. Yeah. Loved the orange vodka tonic
Yes.
that cures.
Yeah.
Okay, like how do
Everything.
you cure space?
Space madness.
But it's
Well, he
like,
said it was breaking down something in the brain, so this would fix
Yeah,
the.
he was saying something about
Vodka.
deadening certain nerves or something. Or
Yeah.
In the.
I like that
I
you had
bought
to
it.
add it to alcohol, though. It's a good thing
yeah.
this isn't next gen and there's children on the show.
oh,
This is yet another time where some kind of drug or cocktail or alcohol fixes everything. So my alternate episode is the Therigen after party they have. We got all this left. We got to make sure we're all
No,
cured.
see, my alternate episode is they go to that party, but Scotty's laying there with empty bottles all around him, and nobody else gets any. I think we all identify with Scotty.
Yeah.
Well, not all. I won't
Right,
speak
sure,
for everybody,
sure.
but Woos and I for sure.
Yes, for sure.
so. Back on the ghost ship, there was a part where Kirk was like, well, actually Bones was like, oh, make some like noise over the intercom, and Kirk goes, Bones, what's the matter? Bones,
Yeah,
what's the
answer
matter?
me.
Answer
Answer
me. Say something. My God. Is he not responding? I mean, I have the same problem in horror movies where it's like, if you are in the other room and I hear a thump and I go, Keith, I need a response like that.
What if I wanted to enhance the drama of the
Then-
situation?
Then we're getting divorced.
You heard it here, folks.
Damn.
Because that's not how it works. If I'm concerned about your health,
So if that happens, everyone in the audience is going to assume, well, he must have done it finally. He must have pulled that trick. He's out.
We will mark this as evidence in the trial
Yes.
Yeah.
if that ever happens.
I already marked that.
I liked that the ship was named the Defiant, which we've talked about a whole bunch how Deep Space Nine, more than any other spin-off, references the original.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's the NXO one Defiant, because it's a what do you even call it? An experimental ship. It's not
Yes.
like being
Yeah,
mass-produced
it's not,
yet.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But this was obviously a Constitution class, so it was the USS. But still, I like that connection.
You know, I noted that as well, and when they said Defiant, I was like,
Yeah, the DS9 borrows a lot from the original.
yes. Well, and I think because DS9, they're technically claiming the portal goes to the mirror universe, essentially, right? And I think it's
The
kind of-
wormhole?
The wormhole?
No.
No. Okay.
It goes to the other side of the
So it's
galaxy.
Okay, there we go. I
That's
was
the only
like,
thing we
wait.
never restraining plot twist.
So there were two things I noticed when he was talking to the other ship that came up. What were they called again?
The Tholian?
The Tholians.
Tholians.
Yeah, the creators of the Tholian Web.
He introduced.
Called the Tholians.
Named after the web.
But they never called it the Tholian Web, did they?
No.
They did not. They honestly had much lower involvement in the episode than I expected.
It's
They're
weird.
Yeah, that
They're
was
just there
really
to-
strange.
They're there to just get in the way.
Should have been the
Solve
case of the
other
missing
problems.
Kirk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pretty
something.
much, yeah. Well, and Spock goes, "Oh, that renowned Tholian punctuality."
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Shade being.
I liked that line because
Yeah.
it gave us a clue into the alien race.
And that they
Yeah.
kind of knew about them. And
But what I didn't get was the web itself. So you've got this great weapon that relies on a starship staying in place for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you weave around, and then what happens once you finish weaving?
Also, like, why does it take
Yeah.
two of you? It's useless if there are only one. Why don't
So
you travel?
they got out of it
They're
without
my
any
thought.
issue, also.
Huh?
So they got out of it
Because
without.
they
any
phased
issue.
into the inner space, into the mirror universe.
in my mind, when I saw it, I always thought there were like 6 or 7 ships doing it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
that is
too.
so strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
felt like you
Well,
would think,
it made me think what you talk about, Keith, all the time is like spaceships, when they encounter each other in space, they're right in front of each other. They can't be below or above or around.
Yeah.
So they couldn't go anywhere because they were right in front of them. Creating
That was
this web.
also very strange. So it took
But they did end up doing it all the way around.
obviously a very long time for them to do that. And so, what was their motivation in doing that to begin with? Were they trying to block him from that one position where they had to rescue Kirk from, or I just
I don't think they knew anything about Kirk. They had
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Because they didn't believe that they gave him the hour and 53 minutes to figure it out, and then like, all right, this is war. We're making a web.
So here's the two things I have about that. When Spock introduced himself, he did not say this is Captain Spock. He said this is Spock, and I thought that was really weird because normally they add their title to everything.
Something.
I think that was his way of showing emotionally that he was having trouble with Kirk's loss. Like,
Well,
I think
want to
there
say
was some
first
stuff
officer or
between-
something, some
Yeah.
rank.
I think that explains McCoy's behavior in some parts too. Like losing your best friend there
Yeah.
would mess with you.
And I think it's a good point because eventually everyone starts calling Spock Captain,
Yeah.
and then it
Scott the
switches back.
captain. And,
Yeah.
that was nice.
So then when he said we have 1 hour and 53 minutes, I was like, this is where rounding up would have been better instead of being precise like a Vulcan. You need to be like, we have about 2 hours, 30 minutes. And so they wouldn't have been
Oh,
like,
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
because if he
that's-
said 4 hours 53 minutes, they were like, all
all
right.
right, 4 hours,
Yeah.
53 minutes, we'll be back. So, but he said 1 hour, 53 minutes, and they're like, okay, we'll be back in 1 hour, 53 minutes. Boom, immediately they shoot him.
You wouldn't have had to lie,
All that
just
right now,
exaggerate.
punctuality.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
maybe that's not Starfleet order. Shouldn't he have given some kind of code? Not minute
The
hours,
days
53 minutes?
become minutes, the minutes become
Them
hours,
hours.
the hours become weeks.
what, like the engineering trick or something?
Yeah, that's a Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So I missed how much of the situation that Spock actually explained to them what they were doing. Like we need
Spock's
to wait
plane?
for.
Spock's plane?
Spock's plane. Yes.
It's like mansplaining, but
Only Spock.
Only
Spock.
Spock. Actually, we called it Spock's position, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yes, because there was a lot of that in this episode.
So the idea is they show up, they don't see the ghost ship appear, so it's like, oh, it must be lying, they're dead. Or-
Yeah, I think he explained that. Yeah,
we're waiting.
Yeah, Tholian said, you better not trick us.
Mr. Arcat. Yeah, they're like, all right,
He
you
said
know what?
We're attempting a rescue mission.
Yeah, I can't remember the word he used, but
That's
He's like, okay, but you
Or
better
she.
not be lying.
Actually, I guess the Tholian was a she. It was Majel Barrett, so the voice
Oh,
was
was
it?
her.
Nice.
Yeah,
Also the voice of the computer.
computer. Yeah.
So was that so? The issue was they were in Tholian space or something. Is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, no,
Which is-
Commander Laskin? Was that the Tholian?
Yeah.
That was Barbara
Oh, Barbara Babcock. That's right.
who returns for her, fourth episode of Star
Yeah.
Trek.
Taste of
And
Armageddon.
she's in next week's Play a Stepchild as
Oh, okay.
well. Mostly voice. She was Trelane's mother in Squire Gothos.
Yes,
She was Assignment Earth, the Beta 5 computer, and
That's
Isis the cat.
that's right.
Couple of Taste of Armageddon, but yeah.
That's right,
And then
all
she'll
the
be
best.
Zetar in the Lights of Zetar coming up.
All right. And is that another voice one?
Yes.
Okay.
But Plato's stepchildren looks like it's not a voice.
Oh, all right.
We get to see
Cool.
her next week.
All right. Awesome.
I want to mention the horrible eulogy that was given by Spock.
That was a lot of Spock's position, followed by a brief eulogy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, hey guys, I know we just came back from commercial break. If you're just joining us now, this is what's happened. This is why Kirk's not on the screen right now.
Which, in the 60s, you kind of
Yeah.
had to do
Yeah.
that.
That would have been just a great like Arrested Development or Simpsons type moment of somebody from the audience saying, "Why are you telling us this?"
Yeah, we know we're
Well,
going through
What would
this.
have made a great Arrested Development if Spock's like, we know the captain's dead, and then you hear Ron Howard goes, but he wasn't.
Yes.
Well, it's a weird. I mean, it's a funeral, so it should pack a bigger punch than it does. I mean, I feel like
Especially it being Kirk's funeral.
yeah, and I feel like
like-
you've got all the, and this is one of the few episodes again that's got all 7 of the main people in it, and you can see the emotion on her and Chekhov and Scotty and all those guys. But I feel like it's weird that the moment they give Spock is, I think
Yeah.
Keith, you mentioned that. Explain what's going on here after the commercial break, rather than at some point, giving some, it just heightens that whole Spock's being logical or something's wrong with him kind of thing, and the whole McCoy you want command thing is.
Didn't
Well,
even seem
they were-
consistent. His tone was like all over the place.
They were
Like,
inconsistent about, well, listen to the message too, because McCoy's like, we have to, and Spock's like, we don't have time, and McCoy's like, we have to, and then Spock's like, okay, we have to, and McCoy's like, wait, we don't have time!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do chalk that up to they lost Kirk, and they're distraught about it, and they're
Yeah.
just bickering to bicker.
Because McCoy first thinks he's the logical one, like, you risked the ship, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You're not going to win this logical argument here. And then later at the funeral, when he's like, whatever, he said something similar like, that was the worst eulogy ever, or whatever, more or less. I'm like, okay, we might be
Did
logical
you
there.
like Kirk's video message to them? Do you buy that straightened him out a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They had the
nice.
heartfelt moments where they were like,
There
Oh, yeah.
were knowing glances between
Yeah,
Marianne
knowing
and
glances.
Kate.
Many
Yeah.
eyebrows were raised.
That-
yes.
That wasn't all. That was
That
nice.
landed and connected more for me than all the business that was going on
Yeah.
before
I
then when they were
agree.
fighting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also read that some folks believe that's the first widespread evidence of a living will or a video will.
Oh, interesting.
It's become a big deal in movies and stuff since
Oh.
then.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's one of the first.
Star Trek invented it, like everything else.
There you go.
And this was the only show where Spock calls Bones Bones.
That's right.
Really?
When he quotes Kirk, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
I mentioned that eyebrows are getting a workout, and I'll see your eyebrow, and I'll raise you mine. That was a very weird scene.
One more. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say before we move on from the video, Will,
Yeah.
I put there was space dust on the bequeathing monitor.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Little,
gosh.
little speck.
God.
That was just-
Well, nobody came in to clean Kirk's quarters since he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the few minutes.
Oh,
ago
speaking
he
of
died.
quarters,
Yeah.
Spock's the one guy on the Enterprise who locks his door. They had to ring the doorbell, and he had to say, "Come."
I was curious why they went to Kirk's quarters to listen to it instead of going to Spock or McCoy's quarters.
Well, he actually
That's
did
just where
the
it was.
envelope out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Beep, boop, boop.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Also,
Okay.
why does Spock know the key to Kirk's
Yeah.
personal safe?
Yeah.
Well,
In
that's-
case of
that's why
this
it's there.
case
Because this happened, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, I bought that.
Oh yeah, but no, I like the video for the part of it really kind of gives a moment of because Kirk kind of acknowledges that Spock is having a rough time right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, you're having tough decisions.
Yeah.
Even as he just says to Bones, he's like, that what I did is what Captain Kirk would have done.
Yeah.
And Bones is like, yeah, finally, you're not him. And then you kind of get that moment of, and it's like, Bones, I know you heard what I just said. It's like, remember that he's like, he's also having feelings. He's just not showing them the way you expect. Calm them down.
Circle back to my original thought that, I miss Kirk, obviously. I think you get just enough of him, and it's the good Kirk, good Shatner.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, if you
when-
got just a little more of any of those, you might...
yeah.
All right, we're done
I
here.
understand.
Yeah, it was the good, the charismatic...
Oh yeah, that's
leader.
that's
Shatner.
Them,
Yeah.
them pranking him
Yeah.
at the end was gold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're both just like, yeah, well, what? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
But then,
we were way too busy.
but then he's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, sure.
What, you were gone? We didn't even notice you were missing.
It's like, we're always best buds. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, we've talked about it, I think we mentioned it before, but in one of the feature films, like Kirk goes over to, I think it's McCoy's apartment, and he's like, hey, you have this drink for me? And he's like, oh no, I don't stock that. And Spock comes in and he, like, something really obscure. McCoy's like, yeah, sure. And Kirk's like, wait a second, why are you... And McCoy's like, because he's over here all the time. You're not. And that to me is like,
Wow.
that started back here.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the beginnings of that
Yeah, that's
payoff later.
What's that?
That's-
Kirk's, I can't remember which one it is. One of the
God.
films. We'll get to
Yeah.
it.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it's that thing where Kirk is married to the ship, and as much as we think Spock and McCoy value him, yes, their relationship is a lot about Kirk, but they have that bond as well.
When Spock says, I don't need to explain myself to you. It's like, actually, yeah,
Yeah, you do.
You do. You do.
Yeah.
He's the doctor. He's the one that,
Right.
if you're like, I'm going to put on clown makeup and I'm going to do all this crazy stuff.
Right.
I don't need to explain myself to you.
Oh god, I wish he had put a clown makeup. That would have been so good.
Like, well,
I mean, his eyeshadow's on point.
Well, and is that to indicate that Spock's obviously wrestling with his emotions? Because that's what Spock does, is explain things to
Yeah.
people. And of all things, he would know that he would be required to explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
By
I think
regulation.
he was. I
I think
Nimoy
so,
was
too.
making it very subtle.
I think so too, and I actually like that. Somebody asked if this was how many funerals this was for Kirk.
It was me.
Yeah, so we had the tombstone. And
Yeah, that wasn't. That was just
Spock
taunting.
thought he died in amok time,
so briefly.
but there wasn't a funeral or
No.
anything. I'm trying to think if there was any other ones.
I mean, he does die in Generations.
Well,
But the funeral happens off screen.
spoiler alert
It's
for
quite
everybody.
I was about to say that.
funeral.
If you don't know that Kirk died in a movie that came out over 25 years ago, I'm sorry. I won't spoil Discovery.
My last note on the funeral was everything's going great, and then Casey May freaks out. The guy freaks out. Looks
Yeah.
just like Casey May. I know that only
Inside joke
only
for
helps for
Columbus,
local
yes.
folks, but yeah.
It's-
Now we need some Mad Lab sketch with Casey May.
I was gonna say not Casey in particular,
Right.
but something about that scene. It's just like, I guess, yeah. I mean, you would think for what it was supposed to represent, it would have been a lot would have felt more heartfelt or something.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like they knew we weren't going to buy it anyway, so it's like, here,
Maybe
let's just have this
you're
little
right.
thing. But then suddenly the guy starts a mosh pit. And I was like, ah!
He says the captain is dead, and it's just like one guy just like, no!
Yeah, it's like, all right, we're done here. Moving on. Next scene.
Of course, his funeral's a riot.
Yes, I remember you saying that. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, the only good Star Trek funeral I ever got was Spock's.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yes, and he didn't even die for it. It was great.
He did die.
Well, he did die, but he came back.
Yeah, but he died.
That's also a spoiler.
That movie came out even longer ago.
That's not. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
That was an early 80s movie.
that was before my birth. Okay.
That one, I guess obviously we'll get that eventually, but I certainly bought that one though. But it's for a movie, so why not?
I think we talked about a lot as we watched that nobody that got the Space Madness could mention it to anyone.
Yeah.
They just went crazy, and it's weird that their craziness was only manifested in jumping on people. Why is that the only strain? Yeah.
Speaking of
Like,
people,
why did someone just like kissing up a horror or whatever? Why wouldn't that be Space Madness? Don't they say, do you want to end up like Chekhov? Isn't that what they asked her?
Oh, yeah.
End up like
You don't want to end up reiterates when the Tholians show up. He's like, this is free space. But clearly they're familiar with the race of the Tholians.
well,
Are
Right.
they anywhere near their
They
German?
must be.
Because Spock's like, all right, I ain't going to argue with you about it, but you're wrong.
This is disputed territory.
Yeah, I'm like,
so I noticed one thing that was very common and one thing that wasn't. When they said they didn't detect any life forms on the ship, I fully expected them to encounter something, as they almost always do, but they finally didn't. So
Yeah.
everyone actually was dead.
Yeah.
That was very strange.
well, the Enterprise couldn't sense the ship, but the ship is apparently fine sensing it. And, like, how do you transport... Were they just like, all right, this vague coordination should put them...
They relied a lot on visuals, too, in this
Yeah.
episode. Like, look, I can see Kirk. I can see the ship. And I'm like, no, you should be using your sensors.
But the sensors show nothing, so I'm like, how did they manage...
Yeah,
what did
I
they
don't
transport them to?
That's why they were wearing spacesuits. In case they're
Just in case
in
they-
space.
They fall through it somehow and just keep them.
Woo,
Because that's how space works. They would fall immediately through the floor.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the tropes that bothers me, still in things today, any movie or TV show, when someone says, I just saw so and so. I'm pretty sure they're alive. You know, I see them everywhere too. Yes, I
Yes.
feel that way too. They're
Yes.
always
Yeah. Yeah.
that line.
Well, and it's like, McCoy, can you just catch the woman? Like, what are you doing, man? You're a doctor. If anyone should be able to catch a fainting person, it's you.
Yes.
Oh, the screensaver.
Yeah.
That
Which we've referenced many times in this podcast.
made it seem very familiar to me already. But it made me also feel like I'd seen this before, but I hadn't. I was starting to confuse it with something in season 1 or 2 where they were being trapped by something visual, like a wall or something. What was it? Was it the thing where they had to fly through the grid? Or what am I thinking of?
I don't know. You're talking about, like, the barrier at the edge of the galaxy?
Something like that.
The big pink
Uh,
thing? It reminded me of Next
seems
Gen
like
when
it.
Geordie LaForge and Ensign Rowe, they think they're dead and their ghosts are appearing.
I was thinking of the web itself in particular because
yeah.
that was so prominent that you expected to have been some sort of like a barrier that was going to kill them in some way or something that
Yeah.
had to pass through it somehow, and it feels very familiar, like something like that, but it was just
Yeah.
a total swerve, which was also very strange.
I love the look of it still. It's an awesome sounding
Yeah.
thing. It looks great.
And when we looked back at the old version, the ships are a little better defined now, but there wasn't that much difference.
No,
No,
the
they
ships
do.
look better, but the web itself is...
Yeah, they did a
it's
good job for
great.
the 60s.
It should be a much, again, not that I hated it, but a much cooler episode. The Tholian Web should be a much cooler thing.
Yeah.
But
Especially
But-
when it's called the Tholian
it's got a
Web.
great name.
Yeah, it's a
It's a great name. It looks great.
And then it's like something that's happening that's
Yeah,
not
well,
actually important.
And they got out of it really easy because they're like,
Strange.
oh, we got thrown clear. I was like, well, okay.
They,
All right.
Yeah.
they went into the they phased out to the other universe, and then they phased.
Yeah.
We assume
True,
they phased
right.
back in.
No, not so much.
Outside the West.
I thought they just left a hole at the bottom and they just dropped it.
Well, what
You know, so-
confused me a little bit was that like this one piece of space is what's phasing in and out. So if they phase out and then they move, you think they would phase back
Right,
in.
exactly.
Oh, I had something morbid to add, which was that
Yay!
I think
Hey.
if I ever get around to making a will or something, I'm going to request a eulogy like that, where they're just giving expository information about things that have happened to people. in the
Keith
audience already
Jackson
know.
was a human male.
No, that have nothing to do with me either. Just
Yeah.
things
Well,
around it.
I think usually that's when the funeral director comes in and says, the burial will be at 3:45. We're wrapped up here, and
Yep.
So, men and women of Star Trek. We'll explain this for the newbie. Basically, we rate a character we find attractive and we keep track, and we can maintain one from the previous episode, but we don't allow
The main
the
seven,
major
yeah.
characters.
Okay.
So in this episode, you've got all the extras that like went crazy, and the Tholian commander. That's about it.
there's not much there.
Well,
I know who I'm
she was
picking.
up there.
I know I'm picking.
No,
And I got mine.
Well, Steven, you have Natiri from last episode.
I'm sticking with her. Yeah.
Sticking with her?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not
gonna
going
stick,
for the crumpled woman on the dead ship.
I'm gonna stick with Mara, the Klingon woman.
Sure.
Who did
Like her.
I know who I had last time.
Keith, you weren't here the last two episodes.
I'm not. I'm.
You were Romulan commander is who you still have.
Okay. I was convinced I wasn't going to remember it at all.
Oh, I thought you were convinced it was still merged Headford.
Oh God! If only.
Last season,
Oh God!
he
That's my favorite thing.
Keith stuck with this character because the character in the episode was stuck with this character, and he refused to change because he made the decision to stay on the planet with her.
He made a commitment.
Oh,
He made a
he
commitment.
did.
At the end of the season, we finally made him like merged Headford in Flavius's shorts, or merged Headford with the cat's collar. Like he added accessories from other characters.
Oh, that reminds me. They wanted to have some kind of, at the end of the episode, to get him out of it, some kind of supernatural thing.
Uh-huh.
And Roddenberry said, well, it's not in the book of Star Trek or whatever. But I'm like, for supernatural, I'm like, well, what the hell was Catspaw then?
So Keith, are you sticking with the Romulan commander, or have you
For
changed
now,
the
I mean,
last three
I
episodes?
can't even imagine. Wait,
Have you've watched, are you caught up then?
I watched them like all today, and it's
Okay.
like
Day of the
all
Dove
together.
The
For the
lady
Hollow.
with the eyebrows is pretty cool. I liked her.
From what was that?
The one that you watched the last one. She was talking with Spock.
Natiri.
Natiri.
For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky.
Oh yeah.
Did you love it when they said, for the world is hollow and I have...
1.5 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
1.5 times.
when they said, I'm like,
Of all
where's
the
Keith?
titles for
Where's
him to
Keith?
say.
So
So Keith,
was
Oh no,
Oh, yeah.
I'm
stay with Romulan
Yeah,
commander.
Okay.
Marianne, you were on Dr. Jones, not Kate, a different
yeah,
Dr. Jones.
yeah. What did Natiri?
Natiri, okay.
Yeah.
And who was that?
Last
The
The
For the world is
eyebrow
hollow.
lady.
Oh,
and Kate, you're brand new.
Oh, gosh, I
Shake your
am.
eyebrows.
I gotta go on record. Panther red shirt guy.
The Red Panther.
The Red Panther.
the one from who he jumped down off the ladder.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
He has a lot of energy.
Yeah, I was like,
Well, you were already worried about his safety. You're like, I don't know how he's going to do this.
I don't know.
I'm
I
worried.
was like, man, he's gonna. I was like, oh no, the cat like tread.
Oh, I love pirates.
It's
Weapons
so good.
Ants. It is. Ranking this episode first, we need to break the tie that Steven
Yeah.
and I had last week that Keith was supposed to be our tiebreaker because it was just Steven and I.
God, I was so distracted
Pressure.
during that one. It's
Well,
just like
Marianne
something
can weigh in if
happened.
she watched part of it.
Well,
or if Kate
I've got
Oh, that's true.
my thoughts on that are that I really like the concept and it worked well enough to be an Orville episode. So
For the World is Hollow,
Yeah.
I touched
Yeah.
the sky. So
Yeah,
where we
that's-
landed on
we
it,
referenced it.
where we landed on is we couldn't agree if it belonged above or below Day of the Dove, the Klingon episode.
I'm sorry that I missed the Day of the Dove episode because of all the
was
the
great.
brown makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh yeah, the brown
It's-
face was bad.
It's
Not good.
So do we put the Tholian Web above Day of the Dove?
this
Marianne says no.
I'm not.
this there wasn't a lot to this one. I mean, it just felt misled again by the title and the effect and just
a few character moments that were nice.
But I feel like there have been better episodes even for that.
I enjoyed the character development. In terms of plot, it was on the level of Fate Stay Night. But.
Yeah, I would say too many holes with the Tholians themselves just showing up and saying, "Oh, if you tricked us, I'm going to shoot, and now let's make our ships kiss and then start rotating." Because are they covering the top or the bottom first?
Well, and like you said, like they get hit by the phasers and it just kind of bumps.
And it was like, wee,
yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I was like, I've never seen a ship actually do that. It's like
probably should have watched the original effects on that one too. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Ship hit.
I mean, it should have blown up.
I agree. I think it's below Day of the Dove.
Yeah. I think you guys have convinced me.
The one right below that, though, is the Paradise Syndrome, which is where Kirk loses his memory and takes a Native American wife before the asteroid comes to destroy the planet.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on in that, but...
With Marianne. That was her name. Wow. So we're putting it above the Paradise Syndrome?
Yeah.
That's where I would put it.
Shoot, at one point, don't they find a place where they have part of the U.S. Constitution?
Oh, yeah, that was one of our least favorite last season.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
That episode was pretty good until that last 10 minutes where they...
and then Kirk starts, like, reciting from it.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
I do the same thing with the Magna Carta. We all do that with 400, 500-year-old documents.
Mentions it, I'm always like, oh, well, obviously. Wow.
Next week, we are talking Plato's Stepchildren, which we mentioned earlier, featuring the first interracial kiss on television.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Won't tell you who it's between. Spock and McCoy. Interspecies kiss. No.
There was I noticed that there was another dark-skinned person next to Ahura. And it was like
there were three actually.
Yeah, I was like they were all sitting next to each or close to each other.
Well, at the funeral, there was quite a diverse group. Most of the minorities were standing on the back wall.
Well, there was next to Ahura was I couldn't tell if he was Spanish or like really dark skinned or another African American. So I wasn't sure. I couldn't tell. So
I think I read that's the most crewmen they had in one scene.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It was packed. And
cool.
And I'd say it was only a little over half white, which is pretty good for them.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Keith?
It's important to have that kind of thing on television, especially in the 60s.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about more next episode when we talk about the drunken history in the Shawn Nichols episode.
That's just...
So enjoy your hot August week. We'll be back on Thursday, August 30th. That's our next episode with Plato's Stepchildren.
All right.
Until then...
Live long and prosper.
Or at least just don't disappear in inner space.
It's All Been Done presents Who's Got the Time?